All right, I have 12 o'clock, so as promised, we'll go ahead and get started, and I will kick things over to Andrew and Keely.
Thank you. My name is Andrew Linn. I am the Chief Information Security Officer here at Orrstown. I'm joined by my colleague, Keely Wachsmuth, who is our fraud investigation manager and our lead fraud investigator. We're going to share some information about this new era of global scams. So we've got a lot to cover. We'll get started right away. The most significant fraud event in history had nothing to do with fraud. COVID was actually the catalyst for this new era of fraud. You think about the money that the government, and it wasn't just the U.S. government, but governments across the country, the stimulus money that they were generating to try to keep the economy stable. Well, it also generated a new breed of fraudsters who wanted to take advantage of that money flow. But that was just the beginning. COVID was really a practice for something much more sinister. What you're looking at here is a facility in Myanmar called KK Park. And it's a collection of many buildings in KK Park and was actually built by Chinese gangs right before COVID to be a casino and resort. But unfortunately, COVID happened and travel shut down, and they were left with all this infrastructure they had invested in and nothing to do with it. So they started trafficking people into these facilities to create what's called a scam farm. Literally hundreds of thousands of people are enslaved and trafficked to these facilities, and forced to scam all day long under the threat of violence, rape, even up to murder. These are not nice places to be. Here are a couple of pictures of the inside of KK Park, and this is one of many facilities that now are spreading across Southeast China. Southeast Asia, Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos. You'll see inside the building, there's just rows of computers where people are set and given scripts to run scams all day long. Here is another picture of some of the people that are in these facilities that are running the scams. They're given the tools and they're given the scripts, like I said, to run a scam, and they're targeting the United States. They're targeting other countries, and we'll show you a little bit later how they can be so effective at doing this. But here's a short video to give you a little more in-depth look at these scam farms.
It is April 14, and these 270 Ethiopians are attempting a brazen daylight escape from Myanmar. Some have been here for more than a year, lured to Thailand with fake jobs and then trafficked over the border to work in notorious scam compounds run by sophisticated Asian crime syndicates. Ahead of them is the Moi River and Thailand. The soldiers are from the Democratic Karen Buddhist Army, which controls this slice of Myanmar. The guns won. The Ethiopians were forced back. This is scam country. On some estimates, more than 100,000 people are enslaved in Myanmar compounds. Some can buy their freedom for thousands of dollars. Most can't, so they are forced to scam under threat of torture. These are the people who send fake friend requests from good-looking Facebook profile pictures, or tip you off to surefire investments, or ignite lonely online hearts with flattery. Mafia profits from scams emanating from Southeast Asia alone may be in the tens of billions of dollars a year. We've come to the Thailand side of the border to a town called Mae Sot. It is a gateway to dozens of scam compounds just over the river, and where, since early this year, something quite remarkable has been happening. Under pressure from China, whose citizens make up a good many of the scam workers, and also from Thailand, whose historical inaction and corruption at the border has allowed the mafia to flourish, more than 10,000 people have been freed to go home. Each day they've been packed onto buses and brought back into Thailand, where embassy officials and NGOs have been waiting with plane tickets home. The Ethiopians in our exclusive footage were among the people brought down from the compounds and put into holding camps. The thing was, their government wasn't coming for them. At Mae Sot Airport, we spoke with a group of Bangladeshi men in their first minutes of freedom.
My name is Munna. I'm from Bangladesh. We work in Dubai as a civil engineering job. A few years ago, I got an accident by motorcycle. So I want to come on island for Bangkok. treatment, medical treatment.
Instead of medical treatment, Muniz says he was abducted over the border to Myanmar.
On the way on the seat, he showed a gun like this. Hey, don't talk. Just sit. Don't talk. Don't shout. If you shout, I will fire you.
We've been given special access by the Thai military on a comprehensive border patrol. It's their job to stop people being smuggled into Myanmar and to stop people coming back the other way.
ไปทุกเวลาเมื่อสั่งพร้อมออกก่อน24 ชั่วโมงเพื่อดูแลความสงบเรียบร้อยให้พี่น้องประชาชนชาวแม่สอดและ5 อำเภอชายแดนออกตลอด
First stop is across the border from Shui Koko, a relatively new city built by a Chinese company and alleged to be a major scamming hub. We keep moving along the borderlands. The compounds clustered close to Thailand to make use of power and internet are sprawling. The workers are usually citizens of poor countries with few economic opportunities. They often get lured to Thailand first with false promises of jobs, like data entry, for example. But some come willingly to work as scammers, at least until they realise that they're not allowed to leave.
มันเป็นครั้งแรกที่ผมไปรับชาวต่างชาติที่ท่า28 บ้านช่องแคบเห็นเขามาทั้งหมด260 คนผมเชื่อว่าผมเข้าใจว่าเขาตั้งใจมาบ้างหรือโดนหลอกมาบ้างแต่ผมในใจผมคิดว่าเขาคือผู้หลงผิดเขาข้ามมาเขาได้กลับบ้านเขาก็
Once in Bangkok, they can be driven around here at Mae Sot, sometimes crossing the river in small boats. Our guide says no more people are going to Myanmar from Mae Sot, but that doesn't mean the trafficking has stopped. Just across this small river is Myanmar, and you can sort of see how easy it might be, especially under the cover of night, to be able to bring people in here across the border from Thailand into Myanmar when the military might not be necessarily patrolling, but there's also places like this all up and down the border. The depth here, it's probably my knees in some places, maybe my waist in others. Just over my left shoulder here is an area known as Tai Chung 1. Tai Chung 1 is a mix of hotels, entertainment complexes, shops, but there are also scam compounds operating here. We're told 7 of the buildings in Tai Chung 1 are scam compounds. Close to 10,000 workers have been freed, but even this represents just a fraction of the total workforce still stuck in eastern Myanmar and other Southeast Asian hotspots like Cambodia and Myanmar's northern border with China. Tens of thousands of people remain at their computers.
So you can see that they've created fraud on an industrial scale. In fact, 40% of the GDP of Laos, Myanmar, and Cambodia come from scamming. You might ask, well, why don't these governments stop this from happening? Well, they don't stop it from happening because 40% of the GDP for their countries come from these scams, and through corruption and money. There's really no incentive to stop these things from growing. Where does the money go from these scam farms? Most of it goes to Chinese gangs like the triads and the kingpins. Here are pictures of those actual gangs. These are not nice people. However, there's some evidence to show that North Korea also benefits from these scam farms. In fact, some reports indicate that most of North Korea's nuclear program was built based on funds from these scam farms. 3 billion people a week are being scammed. That's really half the population of the world. So if you haven't been scammed directly, I bet you know somebody who has, your friend, your neighbor, your family member. So every week, half the population of the world is trying to be scammed, and a large majority of it comes out of these scam farms. These scam farms are generating over $1 trillion, which is lost every year to the scammers. So it's money like that continues to proliferate this model. The governments don't want to step in because there's a lot of or law enforcement because there's a lot of money to be made, and the crime gangs want to continue to build more because there's even more money to be made. So, how are they finding their victims and churning this out faster than ever? Well, social media is really the big driver. They find most of their victims on social media, and it's not just Facebook, it's not just TikTok or YouTube or Snapchat. LinkedIn is also a place that has a large amount of information about people. Usually, it will tell you where the person works. It will show you the people that they are connected to in the office and their names. So it makes it real easy to paint a picture of someone's life, and then that can be used against them in a scam attack. Usually, people are contacted via email, but it can be phone or it can be over social media too. And then they're lured into a false sense of security or lured into what appears to be a relationship and then tricked into having their accounts taken over, or scams like pig butchering. And Keely will cover some of those scams a little bit later on. Scams are evolving too. There is, because of the proliferation of identity theft victims in the last 10 years, 8.9 billion identity theft victims, there is a lot of personal information about all of us that is available to these scammers. And they are using this information to make much better impersonation attacks and deep fakes. And they're also using this information to kind of take a dark turn for scams where they are actually threatening people unless they pay money. Here's an example. This is a real email that somebody got, and basically says, "We've been watching you at your address, and if you don't pay us, we're going to visit your family." And there's a picture of their actual house there. Now, of course, the scammers never been to their house. They got this picture off of Zillow or Google Maps or something else. But that's a pretty believable and scary situation. And so threats are starting to show up more frequently in scams. And generative AI is making this much easier. And I'll give you a couple of examples. So AI can text, talk, or chat fluently in any language. That's how these scam farms that are mostly populated by people who are not native English speakers can so easily interact and trick English speakers, because AI does all of the work for them. Additionally, AI can do fake swaps and create fake video. In fact, I'm going to show you a couple of examples here. And AI can have a conversation and almost appear to be a person on the other end, and you don't realize that it's not. Here's an example of one of those deep fakes.
Second youngest son. He's suggesting it came out of nowhere. What we subsequently learned is it may have come from the former president or his legal team acting in bad faith. This is a deepfake example of what is possible with powerful computer and editing. It took around 72 hours to create this example from scratch using extremely powerful GPU. It could be improved with more computing time, but 90% of people cannot tell the difference.
So pretty scary. It's a pretty real life looking fake video. You'll notice if you look real closely that the mouth and the words aren't lined up exactly right. So they are very subtle clues. But AI is getting better every day, and those clues are going to start to disappear. I got a couple of other examples. One's kind of funny. I won't play through the whole thing, but you'll get the idea.
Here is Donald, here is Joe, my best friend, my best bro. Politics aside, on a spree, living life, just you and me.
So you can see it can make anybody look like they want to spend time with anybody else. Here, I think, is probably the scariest one.
Okay, what you're seeing right now is absolutely crazy, because I can literally turn myself into whoever I want.
I can even change my voice.
And what's crazy is you don't even need any technical skills to do this. You literally just press 2 buttons. So this is a new tool called One Animate. And to use it, you just head over to this website, select video to video, then add in your video with an image of anyone you want. It's got perfect lip sync, it's got facial expressions, and it even has full-on body movement. So if you want to try this out for yourself, then just comment AI and I'll send you the tool and a full guide.
Pretty scary. And these tools are available to these scammers, and they can look and sound like anybody, which makes their attacks much more believable. So let's switch gears a little bit. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Keely, and she's going to talk about how these scams are impacting you.
Thanks, Andrew. Good afternoon, everyone. So now that we've seen what's occurring in other countries, I'm going to talk about how this can impact all of us. So one of the first ways this could impact you is through a business email compromise. And a business email compromise occurs when a fraudster gains access to a legitimate email account and then uses the information obtained in the email box to scam others. So a good example of this would be a real estate transaction. So let's assume as a client, you're about to purchase a home, you're working with a realtor who connects you to a settlement company. You're emailing back and forth with them and you receive payment instructions through email. So next you go to your bank and you request that a wire is sent to the settlement company. A few hours later, the realtor reaches out to ask when you're sending the funds. It turns out that you've actually wired the funds to a fraudulent account due to this business email compromise. So the fraudster is in that email box and actually sends out wire instructions acting as though they are the settlement company, but the funds are going to a fraudulent account. So never ever wire funds without picking up the phone to verify those instructions directly with that settlement company. I always say that email is no longer a trusted source of verification for this type of activity. Another example is a romance scam. So there are many fraudsters that are lurking on the internet just waiting to scam you. And what they will do is they will appear on people that appear lonely, looking for attention. Sometimes they're reading obituaries in the paper or online to determine who their next target is for that scam. So they will form a relationship with you and eventually ask for personal information or for money. Some will even act as though you need to use your account for some type of transaction because theirs has been locked down or something is going on with their account that it can't be used, so they will ask to launder funds through your account, and what that will do will kind of muddy the water so it can't be tracked back to them. Another example is an impersonation scam. So a great example is actually happening right now with a lot of banks. So fraudsters will contact banking clients and they will say something like, there is a fraudulent charge on your account. And in order to have that charge canceled, I need you to send me this code. And there's always that sense of urgency to make you believe you have to act right away and not really giving yourself time to think about what they're asking for. So if you're providing that code that they're asking for, it is not actually to cancel a transaction. It's the two multi-factor authentication code, which allows them to take over your account. And if someone does get into your online banking account, they are able to act on behalf of you. They can send funds out. They can do bank-to-bank transfers. They can transfer money to their own accounts. There's all types of things they can do. So if you ever receive a call like this, definitely disconnect and hang up, call your bank on a known number that you have for the bank. In a lot of these cases, we're hearing from clients that the fraudsters are spoofing the bank number. So it may appear on your caller ID that it's coming from Orrstown Bank or M&T Bank or whoever you're banking with. I've also heard from a few clients that the fraudsters will say, don't tell your bank about this. I need you to go take out this money because there's an investigation occurring and your bank is involved and you can't tell them because they're not allowed to know what's going on. So that puts a little bit of fear into the client. It keeps you from discussing it with the bank in order to get those funds out quickly without the bank realizing that you're actually in a scam. Next, pig butchering scam. So this is a long-term type of fraud, and this is where trust is built between the fraudster and the victim, often through dating apps like Andrew mentioned, social media, even through a conversation that starts with a wrong text message. So I had a client tell me a couple weeks ago that it all started through a text message that was received saying, hey, so-and-so, I'm in town, would you like to get together for dinner? And the person responded and said, you have the wrong number. Well, the conversation continued, turned into a relationship, and before they knew it, they were involved in a scam. After that trust is built with a fraudster, they're persuading you to invest in some type of fake opportunity. We hear a lot of investment scams. Cryptocurrency is a great example. There are a lot of people that invest in cryptocurrency and understand it, but we also have a lot of people that are falling victims to scams using cryptocurrency and they do not understand it. The term pig butchering comes from the idea of fattening up the victim and then giving them small gains. Maybe there's a small amount of money they're getting. There's some benefit to them, and then the fraudster will eventually come in and take large amounts of money from them. So how can you protect yourself from all of these things that are occurring pretty much every day? So first, make sure you're always reviewing your accounts and statements regularly, looking for checks that may have cleared that you didn't write. They could have been intercepted in the mail, changed to a different payee, changed to a different amount. Maybe there are debit card transactions that you didn't authorize or an ACH payment. Make sure you're looking at those every month when you get them released to you so you can identify fraudulent activity and stop the bleed. Pay attention to red flags. So these are just a couple, but there are many, many more. So requests demanding urgent response or threats of detrimental action. So this is what I mentioned before. The fraudster doesn't want you to have that time to think about their request. They want you to act right away out of fear. Requests for personal information or authentication codes, as we discussed, those are the things that will aid the fraudster in an account takeover situation. A promise that appears too good to be true. So we see this a lot with publishers clearinghouse scams. We have a lot of clients that come in with a letter stating that they won Publishers Clearinghouse, but in order to collect their winnings, they first have to pay $10,000 in taxes to collect. And in most of these cases, the clients have told me, well, I never even signed up for Publishers Clearinghouse. I don't know anything about it. That's one of those situations that's too good to be true. Unexpected emails, texts, or voicemails, especially those with a link or attachment. If you receive a link in a text message saying something like, did you make this charge? If not, click this link. Don't ever click those links. You're going to want to just pick up the phone, call your bank directly on a known phone number, and verify that activity. A lot of those links are fraudulent. It will take you to a site that looks like it's Orrstown Bank or M&T Bank or whoever you use. And then when you're typing your credentials into that website, it's actually stealing them so someone can take over your account. Consider protecting your credit file. So you can always put an alert on your credit file. You can lock your credit file. You just have to remember if you go to take out a loan or buy a car or something like that, you'll want to make sure you're calling the credit bureau or unlocking it online because it will be frozen. You can call any of the 3 credit bureaus and put that lock on, and they will share that information with the other credit bureaus. And if you're ever unsure, hang up your phone or, look at the email and then call the bank directly on a known number. You don't have to respond to those. If someone calls and says they're from the bank and you just don't feel right about it, disconnect that call, call us directly. And I know there are times I'm reaching out to clients as part of a fraud investigation and they will say, how do I know that you are who you say you are? I'm like, that's a great point. You don't. You're welcome to disconnect this call into our call center, and then ask for me directly. And a lot of times that will help them feel better. So always verify everything that you're told. And common sense is your best defense. If you think about it, doesn't make sense, there may be an issue. And I always say, Andrew mentioned you've probably been a victim or someone that's been a victim. Have these conversations, when you're out to dinner with friends, when you're at family gatherings. I guarantee you somebody can benefit from the information. Maybe there are folks that have not been scammed yet, but hearing these stories could be helpful to them to avoid a situation.
The other thing I will throw in that Keely can attest to is if you believe that you've been a victim of a scam or something doesn't feel right, time is the enemy in order to help protect you. The longer that the bank doesn't know that something's wrong, the less that we're going to be able to help. So please let us know right away, and we'll certainly do everything we can to help you.
Absolutely. There are protections that most banks have in place. Check fraud, for example, as long as you have kept your checks in a safe location, no one else was able to get to them, you report it to us within 30 days. There are steps that we can take to try to recall those funds from other banks. So it's definitely to your benefit to make sure you're looking at your statements and reporting that immediately. And with online takeovers, those funds can disappear from accounts in minutes, hours. So even if you're not sure, you hang up a phone call and think, something about that just doesn't feel right, reach out and ask us to take a look. We can look at logs to look at IP addresses, devices, see if someone else was able to access your account. So there's a lot that we can see on the back end at the bank to make sure you're protected.
Okay, we've got about 5 minutes left. Chris, I don't know if any questions have come in via chat that we can answer, and if not, we'll open it up for anybody who has a question.
We don't have anything yet in chat or in the Q&A, but like Andrew said, if anybody has any, please feel free to drop them in, and we have a few minutes to answer them.
While we're waiting to see if anyone has any questions, don't ever feel embarrassed to call your bank and ask. I know I deal with a lot of victims that are afraid to talk about the activity. They don't want to call in and say, hey, I think I gave this information out, or I was talking to this person online for months. I thought they were, forming a relationship with me and they were going to move here, and now I'm out $20,000. Don't be embarrassed to have those conversations with us. We see it every day. Unfortunately, it's happening all the time. And these fraudsters are very good at what they do. They're great at making people believe something is going on, to be able to take those funds. So please don't ever feel embarrassed to reach out and ask us to take a look at things or review a situation.
Okay, we'll give it another 30 seconds in case anyone has questions. And if not, thank you very much for joining. We hope you got some value out of this.
All right, I guess we will end it there. As Andrew and Keely said, thank you again for joining, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you all.